Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 74 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we'll be discussing the pros and cons of hiring a mentor. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our members. The question is, I noticed you guys shut down the coaching program, but I really wanted to get involved. Should I wait to join, or should I join the standard package and do the coaching down the road? This is a really good question, Ron, because we're talking about mentorship. I think that's why we chose that. This episode's about mentorship and coaching. So I think this is a good way to open it up, Ron. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like this question a lot. And we've had a few people reach out to us with this question. Our first, we have a decent wait list right now for the coaching. And our first, we would like for people to come in who have already done the course into the coaching. So to answer your question, joining the course right now, getting the education done, getting all that upfront education done can really make the coaching even that much more beneficial. And that's what we want. The beginning parts, stages of land investing, like you can do a lot of that yourself. Once we get into the more advanced parts, that's where the coaching becomes extremely beneficial. And we see the growth from our coaching members. So to answer your question, I think joining the course and learning about land investing, learning the process, maybe sending some mail out and adjusting with the coaching once it opens here in a couple months is probably the best thing, Dan. Would you agree?
Yeah, I never think you should ever wait on starting your career or side hustle or future because of mentorship on hold. Definitely get into it as soon as possible. And we're going to be pushing that more around like time is money in this business, right? If you make 300 grand a year from this business, every day you wait is 800 something dollars. You know what I mean? So time is definitely money in this business. And I think just starting sooner rather than later, instead of waiting for the time to align perfectly, is always the way to go personally. But let's get into the show. Pros and cons of hiring or using a mentor. So that flows right with that question. And I wanted to get into that because our mentorship and coaching program is sold out. So it's obviously been of great value to people, sold out very quickly. Just completely stopped selling that program because we want to take care of our current mentees and students of the coaching program. And we already have a ton of people, like Ron said, on the waiting list. Um, and, you know, from what we've seen, Ron, it's had tremendous value on our members based on the feedback we've gotten so far and kind of the growth of the program.
Yeah, and I constantly and seen I look at like the members or our coaching students, and we hold them accountable to what they tell us as well. So that's a big part of it. But I think the one-on-one aspect of it, the calls every single month that they get, is extremely valuable to them. It gives them confidence in moving forward, whether it's in deals or just getting that mail out the door. So I think the results are great. I'm really excited about where they're headed. We've seen some members and some coaching students with some great deals. So I definitely think they are getting value. And that is why we had to shut it down. Like we could have kept on growing this, but then it would dilute our attention to too many people versus having the attention on the amount that we've stopped at. And then as things change, as our members grow, as maybe they need a little less hands-on help, we're able to add additional coaching students.
Yeah, and this is for people who, and we love to, you know, have coaching members come on, Ron, and mentees come on that are very serious about the business model. They're going in 100%. Um, and I'm a huge believer personally in mentorships, and I personally have a few mentorships as well. And they've all added complete, tremendous amount of value to my businesses, my personal life. There's so many things that we're going to discuss in here about that, but it's like anything at the end of the day. It's an investment. It's an investment on your time. It's an investment on your finances. But from my personal experience and our members' personal experiences with us, you'll get a return on that. And if it's a good alignment, if your mentors align with your future, your vision, that investment and that return on investment is going to be very, very, very good, I think, and personally, Ron.
Yeah, I think it was a big hurdle for me when I first kind of started hiring mentors, coaches, stuff like that. And you need the connection to be there, the alignment to be there, which is so important, like you talked about, Dan. But it's a hard hurdle for a lot of people to step. Like you said, if you can make 300 grand in this business, $800 every single day, aren't you going to start that tomorrow if it's guaranteed? Which nothing's guaranteed, obviously, but to invest in yourself, like what could a or what could a mentor add to that income? Like I look at like some of the people that I have mentorships with, some of the people that mentor me, add a couple $100,000 to my bank account in terms of my income and strategies and stuff like that that they talk about. So it's really just valuing that relationship, valuing the information you get that you really cannot get anywhere else, and it won't be as personable as a mentor, a one-on-one mentor.
Exactly. And you have to see your mentors as somewhere you want to be. Whatever that is, like if they've gotten a business to a certain point, or multiple things they can help you in personal life. If they've gone through, maybe they own a $20 million business, or they've bought and sold businesses, and you want to get there. That's what your vision is in the future. That's an alignment. That's what you want. They should have skills that in past experience and traits that you don't have that you can learn from. And that's what a real mentorship's all about. And I saw a quote the other day, Ron. It said, um, it was by I can't remember who posted it. It might have been Andy Frisello. I think it was. And he said, if you pass your mentors, that's great. That means your mentors are working. And I think that was a really, really good quote. If you pass your mentors, that's great. That means your mentors are working. And that's what you want. Like you want to pass your mentors, but with a lot of these mentors in their mindset, like they're a lot of these guys like Andy Frisillo, for example, and all those guys, they're growing just like we are, Ron, and they're extremely motivated just like we are. So it's not easy to pass your mentors because they're hustling just like everyone else is out there. But if you do, like that's what their job is. I would love for our mentees to pass us. Like then we can learn from them, and we already do learn from them as it is. But if they pass us one day, that's great. Like we can co-work with different things, and that just would be extremely fulfilling, I think.
Yeah, and there's only one person in the world on top, Dan. So your mentor is going to have a mentor more times than not. Like we're talking about with mentors with us, that we have people not necessarily that we look up to, that we are learning to and trying to pass them, and they're having someone on top of them trying to pass them. And there's always someone who is doing it better. So that's where the growth mindset is. If you're learning from people or like partnering with people who are underneath where you currently are, I think it's hard to grow. Like as you get in these big accountability groups, as you with very, very successful people, the mindset is what I see as the difference, Dan. Like the growth mindset, the how big you can get mindset. Like if we're talking about 1,000 deals a month, but we have a bunch of people in a group that are doing 5 deal or 1,000 deals a year, but we have a bunch of people in our group, whatever, doing 50 deals. Like those aren't the people that are going to help us grow. It's the people that are doing whatever 500 deals a month or something like that. So just always kind of pushing yourself with the people around you. You become who you are associating yourself with. And I think that's what
Exactly.
these coaching students of ours kind of really get, Dan. Like you can see as the coaching calls go on, as the months go on, like their mindset really changes. They start believing in it more. And then it's not just about making $100,000. That's what they come into us saying is, I want to be able to quit my job. Now it's, I want to make $5 million next year. I want to do this. I want to do 50 deals next month.
Exactly. And like Ron said, maybe your mentor right now, is I'll keep it from a financial perspective. Maybe they have a $10 million business, and their mentor has, because they're a mentee, like Ron said, of someone else, their mentor has $100 million business. Maybe that mentor's meant to, maybe that mentor's mentor has $1 billion business. Like it scales all the way up to the Bill Gates of the world. Like anyone who's made it has a mentor at some point, and probably still actively has a mentor. It's just they've been through it. They've seen the hard times, the good times. They've made a lot of mistakes that you can learn from, and it's just, I mean, they can look at things from an unbiased perspective and provide tremendous amount of advice. And I said the word tremendous. I feel like Donald Trump right now about 10 times this episode already. But let's go over some of the pros and cons. That leads me to what I just said. Like the first pro, you get to not only learn from them, which is like just listening, seeing how they interact, seeing how they're a leader. That's huge, I think. But you also get to bounce ideas from them, off of them. As you're scaling, things are going to come up. You get to really just run ideas by them, show them your struggles, show them what's working, what's not working, and they can really help out from a deep dive perspective. They can also help out from, you know, not only focusing in on your business and getting really, really micro focused in, they can balance out and just look at business as a whole, systems, future, sustainability, core values, purpose, things like that as well, Ron.
Yeah, and the great thing about, like, these people who are whatever, let's say we're doing $1,000,000 a year and our mentor is doing $10,000,000 a year, even if it's a completely different business, the understanding of how to grow a business to that next level is, like, the main thing with growing to that next level is by taking yourself out of the day-to-day operations. I know we talk about this a lot, but as far as, like, doing that, like, it's easy to say, like, you need to not be in the day-to-day operations, but I've seen mentorships with me in general just helping, uh just envisioning that, seeing how that operationally, systematically works, where you are actually removing yourself from the day-to-day business, so it allows you to expand to $10,000,000, $20,000,000, $50,000,000. um there's just so many pros to it, Dan. Like, there's not individual, and that's the great thing about them. They're so skilled typically, um, and they know what they're doing. Like, they can really adjust based on you, and you need to make sure the mentorship aligns with you and the mentor as well. But there's so many pros to it, Dan, and it's hard for people to spend that money on one if they haven't done that yet.
Yeah, and and they, like Ron said, they don't need to be in your industry at all, period.
No.
I mean, if they are in your industry, maybe it would help. I think it would help get you off your feet early, but as you're scaling, you want unbiased, you know, not looking from such a narrow tunnel. Like if it's in the land investing industry, I think it's great early on to have a mentor like that, but as you try to scale past and, really make something big out of this, it's important to have that broader vision than what we see in the land investing business. Like I brought up the idea to one of my mentors the other day. I was like talking about how we can sell this business in different ways we can sell and what we need to do to sell it down the road and for our members to sell their businesses. And he's like, the first thing I'm hearing is why don't you just buy other people's businesses who are doing it very well in their systems? Why don't you just buy other people's businesses? And I was like, although that may not work, maybe it will. Something I've never even thought of. And having that like unbiased, because that's what his mind went to. Because when industries roll over, I think they call it a what do they call it? It's like a rollover when industries really consolidate. That happens. Like it's a cycle. If you look at economics and studied business at all, it's a cycle. And these eventually all the businesses in an industry start to just collide and acquire each other and really consolidate, like the Facebooks of the world and the Amazons of the world. And that's what's happening in a supplement industry. And that's when you know to sell is when that's happening. And maybe that will get where land investing is getting. It opened my mind to a whole nother thing. And I think that's the point of what I'm saying right now, Ron, is just having that unbiased opinion because we see things land investing. We talk to land investors, our mind's kind of set in one way. Having that other person who's looking down from, they have no idea what the industry even is besides our conversations, Ron.
Yeah, I agree. Like, a lot of this industry, because it is a new industry and so few people are in it, it doesn't really push the limits of the industry because the lack of competition. Competition is going to push you to change your business if need be. If you're just buying and selling land and just buying stuff off the market, like if that changes, where you might have to do improvements, maybe you have to subdivide to keep the margins up. Competition is going to fuel changes in an industry, and right now, this business is really far from being at that step, in my opinion, where you are going to have that big corporate competition. So yeah, I 100% agree. I do not think while we do coaching for land people, obviously, and I think it's extremely beneficial. If you're interested in coaching right now and we're not available, getting a mentor somewhere else, just like a successful business person somewhere else, can be really beneficial for your business. It's going to make you think about this industry in a different way, like Dan said.
Exactly. And that brings me to so I talked about how they've already seen it, they've been there, they scaled in their journey. You'll learn from their journey. We talked about running ideas, bouncing back, learning from their mistakes, running ideas by them. They, like Ron said, they have proven methods that have obviously worked. They've scaled businesses and it's sustainable businesses. If they've been around for a while, they've been through the ups and downs. But then you have a long term, lifelong relationship. Like I was thinking of it the other day, Ron, because I was reaching out to some people to come on the podcast, and I was like, we are literally just one relationship away from just taking off to the next level. And I feel like that is really key in any, like, we're one relationship away from meeting other really big influential people, and I feel like we're so close to getting there. And I won't mention any names, but I talked to a guy who might be on the podcast later this year. He's really big, and I was like, gosh, if we could get in with him and really create some sort of win-win relationship, like, I he fits perfectly with our business model and my ethics and everything else. I was like, that could be like the key to taking us to the next level. And I think that's what mentors can do. They can introduce you to other people, talk about their advice. It's a long-term, lifelong relationship, Ron.
Yeah. And mentors are watching you and like they are even if you don't think it, like they're learning from you. And that's how the good relationships are. Even if you're paying them something, they're learning from you every step of the way. And they're going to take that and use it other places. They're going to help you out. They're going to want to partner with you on things as you grow. And I think that's the biggest thing you can take away from these, or one of the biggest things is those relationships, getting in with their circle. Like they're going to bring you in with their circle, and that's the people you want to surround yourself with in business. And it's just going to relationships are the key, Dan. At the end of the day, this business might not emphasize that as much the way we're currently doing it, but there are times when whatever, if you're trying to develop or something like that down the line, develop land, like those relationships are key. Needing money, like if you have big mentor that's whatever has a $10 million business, he knows people that have $50 million businesses, and if you can flip money really fast, get funding like that, like those relationships can make you so much more profitable.
Yeah, and just make sure, like, when you're thinking about all this, it needs to be a win-win. I don't want people just saying, "What can this person do for me?" and looking at it from that. Like, what can you also do for them? I can't stand the people that reach out to us, Ron. Or I shouldn't say that. That sounds mean. I can stand them, but it I don't respond, I should say. I'm less likely to respond to people who come and say, you know, take, like, "Can you help me with this or this?" And, the people that come to me, like one of our employees did, Ron, and they're like, "Look what I can do. I wrote you this article." Like
Just talk about
Logan.
him, Dan. Like it's
Yeah,
Logan.
yeah.
Like Dan was talking about Logan, who did it, who's in our Discord. But go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, his strategy was the opposite of what I'm saying. He came to us, wrote us a couple blogs, told us what he could do to help us. Really win-win. That's what you want to see. So when you're looking for mentors, don't just try to take everything. See what you can provide them. Give them a couple, if they have extra money, give them a couple killer land deals, some of your best deals. Give them a good return. You know, they won't hate you if you make them $100,000 real quick. I'll tell you that much.
Hmm.
But don't get greedy is what I'm trying to say, because it needs to be a win-win. We had a relationship topic on here, I think a couple weeks ago, Ron, building your business through relationships. And it really comes down to that.
How do you view that, Dan? Like a lot of this, we're talking about paid coaching and stuff. Do you think that's as important? And I think giving them value is going to help you beyond the coaching. But obviously, if you're trying to get some free mentorship, you better be providing some kind of value. But how do you view that as far as if you're paying a coach or something like that? I think it can be beneficial to provide value to them, maybe not as important because they're obviously going to help you if you're paying them.
Yeah, they're going to help you if you're paying them. But you got to realize when you stop paying them, that relationship might be done. So I
Mm.
still think lifelong relationships, you should always see what you can do to help them. Do the inconvenient things. I think that's important. They're at times you're an expert at one thing, they're an expert at another. Like, you might have a smaller business than them, but you might know a ton about loans because you've been in the loan industry for, 15 years. So you might be able to help them in one way. You definitely can help them in some way. And when you do help them, don't ask for anything in return. My jujitsu coach was like, I would love to sit down with you and talk some things about finances. He had some extra money. Um, and he's like, we can trade services. I was just like, don't worry about trading services. I'd love to help, honestly, because he's helped me with so much. And that's like a jujitsu mentorship. It's a little bit different, but same exact concept, Ron. I think if you want a long-term relationship, you got to provide value.
Yeah, speaking of providing value, I think this was really helpful. Like, you guys take this with heart. Like, if you guys have never paid for a coach or something like that, make sure your mind is aligned with like growth stuff like that, because it can be a waste of money. A coach isn't going to magically make you super motivated and just start doing stuff. Like, if you're aligned and you want to grow, I think a coach can really accelerate that process. But at the same time, it's not for everyone. Get your mindset aligned first. But I really like this episode. I like where we took it.
That's what I had to say before we ended this as well. It's on my list here. If you guys aren't in entrepreneurship, like Ron just touched, if you guys aren't in entrepreneurship yet, you don't really know what you want to do, you're not there yet, maybe, get in the game first before you start looking for mentors. I would, at least entrepreneurship mentors. Maybe you can have a life mentor in general that's a little different, which might help align you. But I think instead of paying someone to help you, maybe align yourself a little bit more. If you're twiddling around with different ideas here and there, they're not going to be able to help with align you with what you want to do necessarily. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I think this is for people who are extremely committed. Ron and I love people to work with people who are extremely committed, bought into land investing, sending out mail, getting deals. We love that. I'd rather that than someone just pay us the thousands of dollars that they pay Ron and not do anything. Yeah, it's great taking their money, I guess, but at the end of the day, we want to see people succeed, and that's what mentorship and menteeship's about. That's why we are mentors. It's fulfilling in that way.
I think beyond the as coaches, I think the upfront money is nothing compared to that long-term relationship that we can have with a mentee, Dan. Like if we help them make money, it's going to pay us back in the long run. And that's what I want from our students is for them to be successful in a selfish and unselfish way. In an unselfish way, because I really do want them to be successful. And then I know that relationship down the line, if they're growing, is going to help me grow in the future. But I really like the way you put that. We will, Dan. Let's put the in the YouTube in the comments below. We will put our link if you want to get on our waiting list for our coaching program or anything like that. Like we said at the beginning, we do prefer you guys being members first. But if you want to close it out, Dan, I think that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining. To get started and unlock your potential freedom, visit landinvestingonline.com. We have a free Discord where Ron and I are involved and other tons of successful investors. Please like and subscribe this video, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever you guys are watching on. It means a lot to Ron and I, and it drives this business forward. Other than that, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.
Thanks, guys.